Thank you. Well, hey, y'all. My name is David Neal. I am from the U.S. If you haven't figured that out yet, I am from the deep South in the U.S. I speak fluent redneck. Might be a flavor of English you're not familiar with, but hopefully you can understand me. So a little disclaimer before we get started. I'm a software developer. I've been in technology for a long time. I'm not some, expert, certified guru or anything like that. If I know a thing or two, it's because I've seen a thing or two in my career. I'm sure you could tell a lot of stories as well. I hope is that there are some nuggets of value in this talk that you can take away that will help you on your journey in your career. Like I said, as the slide says, I make frequent mistakes. Speaking of those, I want to share with you the most embarrassing mistakes I've made in my career so far. And that includes things like I didn't ask for help. I was afraid of what others might think if I admitted that I'd made mistakes. There were times when I broke a promise or didn't follow up on something that I promised to deliver. There have been so many times in my career where I've avoided conflict. I've wanted to run away from difficult situations and difficult conversations. There were times when I didn't take up responsibility for things that I saw going on that were wrong or weren't done right. And there were times when I saw other people who were struggling or who were experiencing great success but could use some encouragement, and I didn't celebrate what kind of impact that they were making in our workplace. I've been afraid to give constructive feedback to people that could probably, really appreciate or could, make a big impact on what they were doing. So all of these things, all these mistakes that I've made as a programmer, software developer, have nothing to do with technology or the kind of tech stacks that I work with. The most difficult parts of any role and of any position, I believe, are the people that, how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people, how we value ourselves, and how we put value on others. When I started in my career, I was doing a mix of IT and programming. I loved solving problems and getting to fix things, and I couldn't believe that I got to get paid to do the kind of work that I got to do. I just loved geeking out about it. But a funny thing happened. I got promoted to a management position, and I hated it. I didn't want to have anything to do with management. I just wanted to write code. Just give me, the freedom to do that. I'm also, believe it or not, 100% introvert. As your typical, programmer, to go and talk to someone else about the work that they're doing to see, check up on them or get project status. That's not something I want to do. I just want to, I resented that role, and I did the bare minimum to get by, but eventually I left that position to go take another job somewhere else where I could just do programming, because that's what I really wanted to do. My ideal job was give me the fastest computer, give me a bunch of caffeine, and get out of my way and let me fix problems, right? Maybe you can identify with that too. And thankfully, there are times in our career that I still get to do that. I get to, be heads down for a while and really focus on solving problems. But there's so much more to being successful as a team, as an organization, and to be successful in your career. I've had to come to terms with what it means to be a leader, or this idea of leadership. And you may be thinking what I thought about leadership for a long time, and that is leadership is only a management thing, right? You have to be somebody's manager to be a leader. I just want to write code. But you don't have to be in a position of power or a management level to have impact on other people. And a turning point in my understanding of leadership came one day in a performance review. I was meeting with my CTO of the company, and he gave me some feedback. He said, "Thank you for being a leader." And I was very confused because this was a startup company. We're relatively small. At this time, I didn't have a team, so they had no one reporting to me. And I was like, "Who are you talking to? Me? Why am I a leader?" But it was an aha moment, because leadership is not just for managers, it's for people who make an impact on the workplace. Leadership is for all y'all. Now, let me explain. In the South where I'm from, when you're talking to one person, you say you. When you're talking to several people, you say y'all. And when you mean everybody, you say all y'all. There are skills of being a leader that every one of us need to learn. Another misconception is that leadership is about being in control, and it's not that at all. Some people might think, well, I'm a manager, or when I'm a leader someday, I can't wait to be in control. Well, it's not, that's a fallacy. Leadership is more about having influence, to earn trust and respect, to find common goals, to be able to negotiate with folks on your team and with other teams, how to have influence and get others to agree to help you accomplish the work that you're trying to do. So in this talk, I'm hoping that to help you to see the world from maybe a bigger lens, that you'll walk away with a bigger and more clear perspective of what you're capable of and the impact that you can make. The first thing I want to talk about is legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered, either after you're gone from a company or maybe you're gone from this world? Living with the end in mind, kind of like this is what I want to be known for, can help you to shape your focus and your priorities and think about the things that really matter most. To help you be more intentional about how you spend your time and energy and the days that you have ahead. So I want you to know that I believe that you are awesome. We may have never met, but I can guarantee that you are unique and that you have experiences and abilities and gifts that no one has but you. That you can do things that no one else can do. Unfortunately, I think we all struggle with lies that the world has told us about who we are and what we're capable of, and lies that we've told ourselves as we compare ourselves to others and think, well, I don't measure up to what they can do, or I'm not built the same way, right? But I believe without a doubt that you are capable of more than you realize. You have more power and ability and bigger things that you can do that you have yet to imagine. I believe there are 3 ingredients to learning any new skill or accomplishing any big goal. And those three things are determination, practice, and a whole lot of patience. And along with patience is that learning to forgive yourself and to give yourself some grace, because you're not going to always be able to achieve everything that you want the first time you try, right? You're going to make a lot of mistakes, as you probably have already figured out. But every successful person that you see, that you admire, they undoubtedly are standing on a giant burning trash heap of mistakes. Mistakes don't define you. They just help you to learn how not to do something and to grow, right? There are growing opportunities. And you've probably seen the internet meme of like how to draw an owl. Step 1, you draw a bunch of some circles. And step 2, you draw the rest of the owl. Isn't that really helpful? And so there's so many things that in our lives, we don't have like this clear path to success. How do I get from this step where I am to where I want to be? And this clear definition of success is we spend a lot of time stuck in one step or another, right? We don't know how to get to that next level. So one thing that I want to share with you that I hope you can do a little research on your own is this idea of SMART goals. And I recommend that you use SMART goals for your personal things and for your team to work towards accomplishing something step by step, to build momentum and a better understanding. So each time you set a new achievable goal, you learn a little bit more about, well, how can I get to that next step? Let's talk about multitasking. We put it in our job descriptions. Must be a good multitasker. Or we put it on our resume or CV that, I'm really great at multitasking. But the truth is, none of us are as good at multitasking as we think we are, no matter how hard we try to convince ourselves. And this is a problem that we see in our industry of like, we need to be at 100% utilization. We need to maximize our productivity and do, all these things. We can't have any downtime, or we can't be wasting any time. But let me ask you, what's a road or highway at 100% utilization? It's a traffic jam. It's a parking lot because, and it's not just an opinion, it's math. It's true for traffic, it's true for fluid dynamics and for electricity, and it's true for people too. Maybe you've seen a circus in person or on TV, and someone gets in a cage with a lion and somehow, manages not to get mauled to death by the lion. And we see them, accomplish this task. And we think, wow, the whip is cool, kind of like Indiana Jones. It turns out that the whip does nothing for the lion. The whip is for the audience. So what's up with the chair? A chair, so lions have incredible powers of focus. That's what helps them, be predators in the wild. But that focus becomes their, weakness. So when you put the four legs of a chair in front of a lion's face, they can't decide which of the four legs to focus on. And so they become essentially paralyzed with indecision. And we are much the same way. When we have too much work on our plates that we're trying to accomplish, we can get into that situation where we're just kind of paralyzed, trying to figure out what to do. Our brains become overloaded. And the interesting thing is our brains don't stop thinking about all those other things. Even though we think we can switch from one task to another, our brains don't stop thinking about them. Those things haunt us in our sleep. Have you ever woke up one morning and thought, aha, I know how to solve that problem? Your brain was still working on your problems while you were sleeping. And it may sound counterintuitive, but do everything in your power to limit the work that you do to one thing at a time. And I guarantee when you can do that, you can have more powers of focus, you can accomplish more, and you can accomplish more faster. So encourage your teams to focus on one thing at a time. Most of the time when things go wrong, it's not the individuals who are at fault. It's the system that we put ourselves in that encourages sometimes the wrong behavior. Because at the end of the day, the thing that makes, the biggest difference is getting the work across the finish line, to get the right things done. It doesn't matter how fast we can ship the wrong things, right? If they're not adding value and doing the work that people actually value. Don't you just love meetings, especially those meetings that could have been literally any other form of communication besides a meeting? Or how about those meetings where it's completely one-sided and status update after status update, and then, 3 hours later? And that's why I need you to come in on Saturday, okay? We have about 15 seconds left. Got any questions? Okay, great. Have a good day, right? So something that I want to share with you is a tool that I've been using in my organizations for many years. I want to help you to have more effective meetings, more productive meetings, and encourage participation and collaboration from everyone involved. And this is something called Lean Coffee. It was created by a group of folks in the Agile community around meetups. And to run a Lean Coffee meeting, you need some sticky notes, some markers, a very simple Kanban board of to-do, doing, and done, and a timer so that you can use that to sandbox or time box some of the discussion, and a good attitude can also help. So when you start a meeting in this Lean Coffee style, you jot down a bunch of ideas on the sticky notes. Everybody kind of brings to the meeting, things that they want to talk about. And then you quickly go around and you pitch your sticky notes, your ideas, so that everyone can have a good understanding. So this needs to go really fast. And then everyone votes, and each person has 2 votes, and you can vote on 2 topics, or you can vote 2 times on 1 topic. You sort those votes, and now you have your agenda. You can rank and sort all of your topics. You move the highest voted topic into the doing lane. You start discussing. You set a timer for 5 minutes. And, you may write down some action items along the way. When the 5 minutes is up, then everyone votes. Thumbs up to stay on the topic for another 5 minutes, or thumbs down that we're going to move on to the next topic. Voting and time boxing prevents that one person, and we know, you probably have in mind who that one person is, right? It prevents that one person from dominating the entire meeting to talk about the thing that's important to them, right? The way this works is the most important topics are agreed upon by the group and discussed, and every person has an opportunity to participate and to be heard. Now, earlier, I said that you are awesome, and that is absolutely true. But there's also more to your life than learning new skills and accomplishing goals and being really good at something. Being awesome is only part of your story. I believe that your life is valuable, and I believe there's a reason that you're here, and it's not just to get really good at, some skills or technology, but I believe your purpose can be summed up that you leave whatever work that you do or situation that you're in better than you found it. Every day you have opportunities with your family, your friends, your coworkers, people that you meet online or in person. Every encounter is an opportunity where you can leave it better than you found it. And I want to encourage you to engage with others with kindness and empathy. Because, like it or not, we are designed, we're wired to live in community. Even if you're 100% introvert like me, you need other people and to learn how to work with other people. And that people are watching you, and you will be remembered by how you behave, how you react, how you treat others. Which vegetable do sailors dislike the most? Leeks. Has nothing to do with this talk. I'm just adding a little in-flight entertainment. So early in my career, I worked under a manager who was very much like, Dilbert's boss. I did not like the man personally or professionally. His incompetence was legendary. There were mistakes named after him. A lot of the work I was required to do under his direction was of no value to anyone. For example, I was required to create this huge binder of documentation of every store procedure and function that was in the code that my team was creating. And no one was ever going to read this, ever. So meaningless and pointless work can be soul-crushing, right? I toughed it out for more than a year, but, with no relief in sight, I decided it was time for me to move on and find a better place to work. And I said to myself, life is too short to work somewhere that stinks. And you may be agreeing with me right now. That's right. We shouldn't have to put up with that kind of stuff, right? I started living by this philosophy, and I offered it as advice to other people who would be complaining about their workspace or the kinds of challenges that they were facing. And I was very fortunate. A lot of times in our career, we kind of have the ability to change jobs, with the kind of demand and things there are at times. But the problem is this idea began to pollute my perspective. And, anytime something would go wrong, I would think to myself, well, here we go again. Things are turning sour. It's time for me to start looking for another job. And I was in a similar situation. I was unhappy with the work that I was doing, or the prospect of the way things were at the company. And I started interviewing at jobs, and I had a couple of really great offers on the table that I was trying to decide. And my wife asked me a couple of questions that kind of stopped me in my tracks. She asked me, have you done everything that you can do? And if you were to leave right now, would you have any regrets? Fine. I stayed in the job, and I worked really hard to, make the situation better. I committed to doing everything that I could to making my team successful. Now, I still left that job about a year later, but I left having no regrets and being extremely proud of the work that we had accomplished in that year. Now, Sure, there can be toxic environments, there can be career limiting situations, there can be incredible opportunities that come along that can justify changing jobs. But for every other kind of situation, I have a new perspective, and that is life is too short to let things stay the way they are. You may have used the phrase, well, that's not my job, right? I'm not gonna get involved in that because, that's not my responsibility. That's somebody else's responsibility. But I have learned that taking ownership and responsibility when I see something that could be fixed or could be improved, or, I don't always have to be the one that's doing the work of fixing it, but if I take the responsibility of making sure that those things get fixed, then that makes a huge difference, not just for me, but for everyone around. And it can, get people's attention and help you to be a leader in your workplace. Now, every now and again, we say goodbye to some folks that we work with. Sometimes they're really great people, right? And you may have a little bit of a going away party or celebration and talk to them about, remember all those awesome things that you did or we experienced together. And it struck me one day when we were having one of these kinds of going away parties, like, man, all these great stories and things that we're talking about. It's like, why are we just now talking about this? Why haven't we shared this kind of things, this feedback with people, all along the way? Why do we have to wait until they're leaving the company to let them know how awesome they are? And so it got me thinking, well, how can I make this a priority, or how can I increase our recognition of people that we work with? So I decided to run an experiment. In this example, Nakoto was our customer support manager, and he did incredible work. And every Friday, I would recognize someone in my organization that had made some kind of difference to me. The work that they were doing, or just the impact that I saw that they were having in the organization. Now, the drawing, is just something fun that I like to do. And it wasn't necessarily the message that I had, but the real magic was everyone else jumping in the conversation and sharing stories and encouragement and high fives. And it was absolutely beautiful. All I did was start the conversation. It was everyone else that participated that made such a big difference. This experiment lasted for about a year, and I had so many people thank me for either being recognized or to thank me for recognizing someone that was really special to them or had an impact on them. Now, encouragement is not something that comes naturally to me. It's a skill that I've had to learn, and it's a skill that you can learn too. For example, say you have someone in your organization named Mary, and you say, Mary, thank you for all the database work that you do for our team. Not only that, but you're always smiling and encouraging. You are such an encouragement to me and everyone around you. Thank you for being awesome. Paul, thank you for always being willing to help. I know I can always count on you to give me great ideas when I'm stuck. It means a lot to me. You're awesome. Mark, thank you for wearing a shirt on the Zoom call today. Keep up the good work, buddy. See, it's not that hard. You can find something to, encourage other people with. But every one of us wants to know that the things we do matter, that our work has value and significance, that we have value, right? How can you show someone you work with how much you value them and their work? One of my favorite books in recent years is this book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And in this book, it presents a powerful perspective on our workplace, that people at any given time are either below the line or above the line. And what that means is below the line is characterized by distrust, playing office politics, trying to find the right angle. You're defensive, or you have this desire to be in control. You're causing conflict and looking for ways to shift blame to other people. Above the line is this idea of having trust, receiving and giving real feedback, and having difficult conversations because you genuinely care about the people that you work with and you want to improve both yourself and the people around you. And at any given time, we could find ourselves either above the line or below the line, and having the awareness of recognizing that and saying, oh, I need to work more above the line, and I need to encourage people around me to work above the line. Another valuable perspective is the virtue of humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. Another great book that I encourage you to check out is The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. It describes the 3 essential values or virtues that every great employee and every great leader must possess. And this book not only helps you to identify and hire the best people, but can also help you to reflect on where you are in your journey. And in this book, it talks about humility as one of those 3 virtues. And the characteristics of good humility, of healthy humility, is a healthy amount of ego, no concern for status, caring more about the team than yourself, and eager to share credit with others, with those that you work with. But there is a spectrum, and at one end of the spectrum is what we would expect, right? It's the people who are characterized as being arrogant and self-centered. They, want to play politics and create division and resentment in the organization. But at the other end of the spectrum is someone who may appear to be humble, but can be just as damaging. They discredit their own talents and value. They lack self-confidence, and they won't point out problems when they see them. And to be honest, this is where I have been in a lot of my career. I didn't feel like my opinion mattered. I didn't want to speak up when I saw something that was wrong, and I was really causing damage to my team because I wasn't contributing the way that I needed to. By definition, both ends of this spectrum are prideful because the focus is on yourself rather than the other people around you. Genuine humility is what enables you to work above the line, as we were talking about that, above the line, below the line, because you're going to prioritize what's best for everyone and not just protecting yourself. I was on a discussion panel a few years ago where the question was asked, so what is the biggest problem that your team faces? Or what's the biggest problem we face in technology? And some of the responses I heard were things like, well, documentation, or our biggest problem is the old technology that we're still supporting, or it's the adoption of new technology. And today, some of the answers would probably include How, using AI is our biggest problem. How do we leverage AI, right? But I think the most fundamental problem that we have is a lack of respect. Looking back over all of my years in software, my conclusion that respect is the fundamental building block of so many things. Respect requires a company to empower teams to work at a sustainable pace, to create an environment where employees can thrive. Listening, empathy, mutual respect, fighting for each other's success, promoting a healthy workplace. All of these things contribute to, or are based upon, our value of other people. Respect is what enables us to do all the things of like improving our process. What I've found and believe to be true is that people really do want to do their best work. People don't want to fail. They don't want to see other people fail around them. They want to be in an environment where they can thrive. And I believe that we could all benefit from practicing gratitude, thinking about what we're grateful for, regardless of our circumstances, and, will help you to keep things in the right perspective. And gratitude can lead to more expressions of thankfulness. I encourage you to let people around you know how much you appreciate them. Normalize genuine recognition and rewards. And if there's someone that you know who has impacted you in some way, don't wait. Let them know about it. Don't wait until it's too late. Now, I submit to you that there are 3 inevitable things in life. There's death, taxes, and PowerPoint. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. You're going to be expected to probably give some kind of presentation in your workplace, or maybe you're called upon to do something even bigger. In 2011, I finally got up the courage to give my first public presentation, and I stank. I was a terrible speaker. But a funny thing happened. I had people come up to me afterwards and thank me for the information that I gave them, and they told me that I did a good job, even though I knew without a doubt I was the worst speaker in speaker history. But it took a while for it to sink in, but I learned a really powerful thing about the power of community. There are people out there who will look past your mistakes. They'll give you, they see the good and potential that's in you and will encourage you to not give up. Because when you do hard things like share your experiences, everyone benefits. Here's one of my favorite quotes. When I gave my first talk, people didn't remember how I fumbled around and my demos didn't work or any of those kinds of things, but they remember me. They remember that even in some small way, I helped them and made a difference in learning some kind of new skill or technology. But let me tell you that to inspire someone to go try something new or to change a behavior, that is one of the rarest and most precious rewards I have ever received. So I encourage you that to get involved in your community. It's a place where you can grow and thrive. The folks that you're meeting here at this conference over the next couple of days, I challenge you to get involved and to give back and figure out ways that you can do it. Public speaking is a skill that you can learn that can make a huge impact on your career and your development and set you apart as a leader and open up all kinds of amazing opportunities. But there are more ways to make an impact in your community than just public speaking. Incredible things happen when you get involved and you give back. Make new connections, friendships, and exciting opportunities that you may have never dreamed of that may come along. What do you call a fake noodle? An imposter. Well, imposter syndrome is one of the biggest barriers to sharing your awesomeness with others. This is like, I'm a fraud. People are going to figure out I'm a fraud. I've got to be an expert. I'm not an expert in this thing. How can I, stand up in front of a group of people and talk about this subject? People will know I am. But the cool thing is, you don't have to be an expert to share and do something in the public with your community. You have something that no one else has, and that is your experience. Sharing your experience, your motivations, for learning something new. What did you learn along the way as you were, diving into this new area, this new technology? What would you do differently if you were to do it all over again? That's a key takeaway. Somebody would love to hear your story and what you learned and what you would do differently. Now, don't you wish that you could fast forward into the future where you have everything figured out, you've got it all, you can bypass all the hard stuff that's probably ahead of you in your journey. There's no shortcut to success. There's no magic formula or silver bullet. There's always hard work to do, and life gets messy. But with respect for people at the foundation of what you do, making a positive impact on people around you, it's absolutely worth it. So there's about 7 things that I've covered in this talk. And to recap, live with the end in mind. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be remembered for? What's your mission statement for your life? Think about that. Having patience with yourself. Give yourself grace. Set achievable goals and measure your progress. Manage your time wisely and do more by focusing on less. Take responsibility and speak up to help fix problems when no one else will. Be grateful for what you have, the opportunity that you have. Recognize the blessings and regardless of your circumstances. Be respectful for others. Have empathy for the people you work with and who your work affects. Find ways to encourage others. And then I encourage you to share your experience and your blessings with other people. I have one final story I want to give you. So last week in the U.S., we celebrated a holiday we call Thanksgiving. And a lot of times it means people in friends and families getting together and eating a lot of food, putting yourself into a coma. So 1982, tradition in my family was to meet at my aunt's house a few hours away. And it was this fateful Thanksgiving family reunion that I discovered one of these. In my cousin's house, he had a TRS 80, and I spent some time with this computer. I thought it was amazing and awesome. And then a few weeks later, I get a call, or my mom got a call from my uncle and said, we'd like for you to come back and visit us. And I had no idea what it was all about. But when I got there, waiting for me was a big cardboard box, and inside was the TRS 80, a cassette drive, a disk drive, a dot matrix printer, a whole bunch of cables and ribbon cables, and this book. This one kind and generous act launched me on a journey of computers and programming and a love of technology. I can't thank my aunt and uncle enough for the impact that they've made on my life and my career that set me on this path that has led me to where I am today, talking to you. And I can continue to be inspired by their example because they poured not only into me, but into countless lives around them. I believe that you have amazing opportunity to have an impact on the people around you. And you never know if some small act of kindness, a word of encouragement, or an investment of your time could be that catalyst that sets someone else off on a grand adventure and new journey. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. None of those things require you to have a fancy title or a position of, quote, leadership, a position of power. You can do those things wherever you are. So I want to encourage you to maximize your talents, be courageous, share your knowledge and experience with others, be the catalyst for positive change wherever you are, and become a leader in your organization and community. Go inspire others. Go and be awesome. Thank you.